Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. It's the Green Room Live. It's going to be amazing. Newton Hayes, South Cascade Organics. They make this stuff. What is this stuff?
This is SLF-100. Stands for submerged liquid fermentation. Anybody in here not know what SLF is? All right. Well, for the camera.
For the thousands of people watching.
All right. See you guys later. So SLF is a plant and microbe-based enzyme product. We grow several species of grasses, and I'm not talking about sprouting seeds. I'm talking about grasses with root and all, and we put those in a ferment along with plants from extreme environments. It's kind of weird talking to a camera. So
no, just go. Yeah, to me, that's why I'm here. So
you guys make me nervous.
So do you rinse out the root wads and
to a point, but we actually keep we keep what's in the root zone as much as we can, because we're trying to pull or utilize the bacteria that are in the root zone as well as the bacteria that are inside of the plant. Something that we don't really talk about a lot in this industry, but there are endophytic bacteria inside of plants as well. So we're utilizing the whole plant with the bacteria and all.
And so it's almost like a plant fermentation, but this is like a grass fermentation.
So we grow several species of grasses purposely for basically inoculating the ferment and then utilizing the plant material to pull the enzymes. With the microbes in there, we're pulling the enzymes out of the plants, but we're also pulling plants from extreme environments because of that plant's ability to thrive in such an extreme environment.
Okay.
So yeah, we recently, should I answer it?
Well, no. I guess that's just the basic thing. So you got that, you make that. What's the benefit of that for my garden?
The benefit of SLF really is we're just trying to go for balance, and so pulling these plants from extreme environments, we bring in the ability to break down extremes. One plant is from a salt flat, and then other plants are a little bit more proprietary, but we're trying to get an extreme condition of a plant in an extreme environment. So anyways, we're breaking down. We really originally designed it to break down salts. We had our ranch that was infected with salts that wasn't able to actually grow anything. So the whole idea behind it was to produce a ranch.
So not just like getting a buildup, you had actually poisoned land that you had to remediate.
Yeah, from the oil industry, pumping salt water into the ground to pump oil out of the ground, and then that salt just infecting the ground.
And so then how did you discover, did you like, bing, I could use this for growing weed? What happened?
So it's been used a lot in all different kinds of remediation efforts. It's been used in arsenic pollution through pesticide and insecticide applications. It's been used in salt remediation. It's been used in clearing lines, sewage lines of calcium buildup. So we knew it could do all these things. And I guess the thought was bigger, better, so remediation efforts was the thing. But in order to get into federal remediation, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. There's a lot of politics behind it. You actually have to pay about 40 grand just to get on the list of products, and then you have to supply your formula for your product.
So then how did you come upon that you thought it would be that this would be the way to go?
Well, because actually the industry that we're in wants new things. Big Ag doesn't want new things. They want the commodity, whatever the lobbyists are selling at any given time. They want their specific, it's a commodity to them, at least fertilizers are. Getting them to use something new that actually could benefit not just their crops but their land as well, and them personally, it's a difficult thing. The industry that we're in is accepting to new things.
So had you always kind of been around the industry a little bit, or what happened? How did you get started with actually being into this industry?
So we talked. So are we getting into what we talked about yesterday?
No. You just pretend that never happened. You gotta do it all over again for
That's
another
a lot of
audience.
this repetition.
This is what you're gonna do, is we're gonna take you on tour actually after this. So we're gonna have it in
cool.
Southern Oregon, then LA, and you can do the same thing over and over again, and when you get good at it, that's when you won't be able to do it anymore.
For me, 'cause I'm not good at this. But anyways,
Doing fine. I'm just curious for myself mostly, how did you get
I
started?
got really sick, and you know, in a nutshell, I got sick. I couldn't hold a job. I actually just jumped into farming because I knew just personal health through eating foods that were living was the way to go. So that was basically my introduction to the growing industry. Was managing a farm, organic veggie farm.
Oh, okay. So you were growing food, and then when did it come to the cannabis thing and sort of that? When did you discover that that was more?
So I didn't create SLF. Family has created SLF, and you know, it just kind of worked out. We saw that they were struggling in this area. We knew what the product could do because we used it ourselves on the veggie farm, and so we just thought incorporating it into a horticulture industry would be easy and well accepted. And it definitely has been.
So it's if you're growing with organic, natural type methods and stuff like that, what's the benefit of this to that? If you're growing cannabis and you're pushing a lot of nutrients into it, you got a lot of stuff in there. You get some buildup, and that's what's the?
Yeah, so there's a lot of buildup. There's always things that are locking up in soil. I mean, phosphorus is the first thing that's going to lock up, but we do have bacteria that are specifically made for phosphorus solubilization. But I mean, we just want to create a balance in the soil. There's always competition between bacterial species, so or your microbe field. So we're trying to, with SLF. You know, I really want to stress that it is an enzyme product, that we are going for enzymes, but an enzyme product by itself isn't necessarily the most beneficial because enzymes aren't living organisms. They're just protein chains that are created within a living cell. Enzymes need to know where to go and what to do. When we're breaking down cellulose, carbohydrates, calcium, they need to know where to go. Instead of just throwing them in the system, we found that bacteria actually create receptors that tell the enzymes where to go and where to accumulate to break down specific things. So we don't sterilize our enzyme product. It's still full of bacteria. We're constantly doing tests to find out what species of bacteria are in there, why they're doing what they're doing, why the enzymes are working so well to break down things in the soil and making things work properly.
So when you say something like maybe Mammoth or some of these other things, that they're like specifically some microbe that does some particular thing, and that's not exactly what this is. More so, it's a thing to create a balanced ecosystem of microbes and enzymes in there that are going to make everything work more efficiently.
You'll find phosphorus solubilizing bacteria in SLF, but you will never find it in the numbers that Mammoth P is putting out. Their numbers are insane, and they're going strictly for phosphorus solubilization. We're not going strictly just for that. We want to create that balance. We're adding, there's lactobacillus in there from these balanced environments that we pull from. Lactobacillus are your soldiers of the environment. They're creating bactericides or antimicrobial agents to control at least the balance in the microbial field, killing pathogens. A lot of other species of bacteria will do the same thing too, but I like to think of the lactobacilli as kind of your soldiers of the environment. But
so if you're doing this, is this something where you could run more nutrients, feed your plant more nutrients? Is it, how would you, if you're doing, like say you're doing nectar, how would this affect how you grow with nectar if you're using this as well?
SLF contains some bacteria that are actually going to break down the calcium that's going to build up in the soil, as well as the proteins that are going to all kind of congeal on the top surface of the soil, allowing the plant to possibly uptake more calcium. Now, that my biggest thing that just kind of recently discovered by some of these bacteria. They produce a molecule called mineral phosphate soluble. They're actually a mineral phosphate solubilizing bacteria that will go after calcium by producing an acid called gluconic acid or ketogluconic acid from the glucose that the plant is exuding from its root zone. It actually oxidizes this glucose to produce an acid to break down that calcium from these other molecules, calcium phosphate. Keeping that broken down is great, but we've had some customers come back and say they've noticed a kind of a dip in their pH, and they've been building up Herculean harvest and then using SLF to break down that cake that it's forming. Well, I believe that it's breaking it down utilizing those acids. But then my theory is that maybe some of these people are afraid of using the facilitator, which is your bloom Khaos, to allow your plant to consume that calcium that's being broken down. So it's not, your plant's still sipping on that calcium and not consuming it at the rate that you're adding it to there. So it's just creating this pool of calcium that's building up, and then the bacteria in SLF creating this acid to break down the calcium, and then it's congealing again and creating an acid again and over and over and over.
So instead of having that cake on top, I've got that cake all the way through. So the bloom Khaos is the answer to that. So can you have too much calcium? Or, I mean, you're using too much because of this, or do you want to get it?
I think you have too much calcium that's not being utilized in your system. So yes, you can use too much calcium.
And then how would that affect your soil? Having all that calcium just kind of hanging out in there.
Well, in this organic type, you're going to have a decreased infiltration rate. You're not going to be, your plants aren't going to be feeding because everything's going to be washing over the side of the pot.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you're doing hydroponics, this is good for that too, right?
Absolutely.
What advantages would it have for that?
In hydroponics, we can get things like Pythium, root rot, which is root rot. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm mixing up words.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You got it.
Anyway, some of the bacteria actually produce enzymes that will break down that fungus. So yeah, it'll combat root rot.
So actually, not just cleaning out your lines, which I'm sure it probably does, but also there's probably buildup in your solution that's not getting to the
buildup of salts. Yeah, if you're running organics, you're getting other kinds of buildup, but mainly buildup of salts, and SLF was made for salt. So
sure,
the addition of SLF to that environment, your plants will feed a lot more evenly than they did prior to using SLF in a hydro system.
Would you use less nutrients in your hydro system if you were using
You
this?
absolutely could. If you're using SLF, you absolutely could, especially if you're not in like a drain to waste system. You will be constantly breaking those molecules up so that your plants can they keep feeding on them. But
so what if I'm in cocoa or rockwool or something like that? Any different from being in the hydroponic environment, or what? Are there advantages to that? Or would you use it differently?
And especially in cocoa, I mean, much of the cocoa that we're using isn't washed properly, so you already have
Salts in it. Okay. So this would help you to
the
get
addition
that
of
pH.
SLF to a cocoa environment, I get tons of praise, usually some form of lockout, and they say, oh, SLF made my plant grow amazingly. Like SLF didn't make your plant grow at all. It just
You had salty cocoa and it hadn't been rinsed properly, and then you put this in there and it breaks that all down, and the plant's eating that up. It's just like brush and what?
Depends on how your system's running. It'll break it up. If you want to flush it out, you can flush it out. It's still in the system if you're not flushing the system.
It could be of use to you.
It depends on what you want to do. If your osmotic stress is so much that your plant's burning and
Oh, sure.
and you have a toxic effect, and you definitely want to flush that out, but it will keep consuming it. There's some of the bacteria in there are amazing. They're producing molecules that actually allow plants to survive. So you have a plant that's suffering osmotic stress or burning, and adding SLF Virtobacillus pantothenicus has been found in there. It's a halophile, salt-loving bacteria. It'll actually produce a molecule called ectoine that allows plants to survive osmotic stress, and then all the while that bacteria is consuming the salts and making it a better environment for your plant to survive it.
Would you be doing this as a separate step, like have a water day where you put this in, or would you put it in with your nutrients? How would that work? Like back to going with Nectar or something like that.
Right, that also depends on your growing style. I say if you've got a gnarly cake going on and your plant's not consuming your calcium, I would say back off for a day, allow SLF to go in there and remediate the calcium issue alone with water.
And then would you come in with some Bloom Khaos after that the next day, a little more?
Personally, I would, if you have that much calcium built up, I would definitely give Bloom Khaos a try if you haven't tried it. Obviously, it's kind of it can be a little bit difficult to run. You need that calcium buildup. But.
So, would you ever do this foliar?
We would do it foliar. The issue with SLF is it doesn't contain a surfactant or a wetting agent, so it needs to be applied to a wetting agent. There's bacteria everywhere on a plant, rhizosphere, phyllosphere, inside of your plant, so adding beneficial bacteria to your phyllosphere is obviously it's a great addition. Atomizers have been working really well with SLF, using an atomizer to...
If you were like doing your Bloom Khaos or something like that in a foliar feed, would you mix it in with that, or would this be better to do the atomizer and do it as a separate step?
I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with Bloom Khaos yet. I'm actually through these studies that I kind of wanted to show people here.
Let's talk about that.
I'm excited to actually start using Bloom Khaos.
Well, what do you got going here? This looks complicated.
Yeah, I know. I got it at first, and I actually just threw it aside because I didn't know how to read it. So we had we took sent a sample to a DNA analysis, a lab that could do a DNA analysis of SLF, because every time we send it to a lab, we get different numbers, we get different species of bacteria. So we're trying to find out who can give us at least some kind of some kind of a standard. And same sample, one lab will tell us we have 3 species of bacteria, and another lab will tell us we have 12. So it's just kind of helter-skelter all over the place. So in this, in our DNA analysis, we had 50 microliters this test was done on 50 microliters, so 0.05 milliliters, 5/100ths of a milliliter. And they basically found in that 49% of it could be classified into phylum, class, family, genus, possibly species of bacteria. 51% couldn't even be classified. DNA analysis is great, but they haven't done all the sequencing for bacteria. They're recognizing bacteria there, but they just don't have record of it. So 51% of the sample couldn't even be recognized. I thought that was insane. When I started to realize what this graph was telling me, it was just blowing me away. So you start with your phylums of bacteria, and these are just big, larger domains to describe families, classes of bacteria. So in that 49%, 31% of it were firmicutes. That's basically your lactobacilli, Clostridia, very beneficial bacteria. A lot of them are very beneficial for humans, but they're also, that's your soldier bacteria, which can also be endophytic bacteria, so they're also infecting the tissue of the plant as well, and doing a lot of different things, cellulose degraders. Some of these cellulose degraders actually produce a molecule called cellulose binding molecule. It used to be called cellulose binding domain. That's that receptor that the bacteria creates to guide the enzymes to cellulose or carbohydrates to break down. in an environment. I thought that was interesting. Hopefully I'm not boring everybody. I mean, the graph is so interactive, it goes so deep. But in the firmicutes, 88% of them weren't even classifiable. So of that 37% of that phylum of firmicutes, 88% was not even classifiable. But it comes all the way down to Clostridialis, which is where your actually, what happened to my? I'm losing things. It's an insanely deep graph.
Definitely a rabbit hole.
It's definitely a rabbit hole. It's brought me into a whole lot of new research, anyways. So as you can see, it goes through different phylums, bacteria.
Are you gonna put this graph on your website?
Yeah, we'll put it up for you, if that's okay with me.
It's really hard. This is an entire file
Oh, is it?
that I actually tried to email it to myself in case I lost this. And it wouldn't let me do it because the file's so big. It's actually, I don't know how. Maybe I can hide it somewhere on my website and upload it that way. That way people can have access to it. But I mean, I really couldn't just put it out publicly. So we're actually really trying to find out what enzymes to study for. We want to come up with a list of enzymes and put that on our label eventually. But we want to know where to go. There's thousands of enzymes out there, and each test costs a lot of money for just one enzyme. So that's basically where we're going with this in the future. But it's, as you can see, there's kind of a lot to study there, and I don't want to get too deep into this. If it's
What did you, first blush when you saw it, did any things that jumped out at you that you didn't
when I
expect?
first saw it, I was kind of irritated at the company because it looked like that to me. I didn't know the graph was interactive.
Oh, that you could actually do something with it.
I was like, okay, this doesn't tell me anything because all these species of bacteria that they do, it actually, and we'll narrow it down, we found at least, goes down to genus and then species, we found at least 25 either genus or species in that 49%, when many of that 49% is still unclassifiable. So there's 25 different species in just classifiable.
They couldn't even give you a phylum for the rest of it?
Nope.
Not even a broad, really?
No.
That's
And so other labs have ways of growing out other species of bacteria, and they've come to us and told us, okay, they didn't even list any Pseudomonas on here, even though they do have proteobacteria.
Yeah.
There's no Pseudomonas in there, but Pseudomonas have a way of, they're obligate aerobes, they need oxygen to survive, so they actually kind of create like a floaty gelatinous material to float to the top of, so it depends on where you're getting the sample from. This was 50 microliters, super small sample.
That's exactly what they can't even identify.
How many species did they find out through the DNA test?
So we've gotten down to genus or species, and there were 25. So in the genus, they couldn't narrow it down to a specific species, but they can get it down to at least the genus. And there's 25 different either genus or species. So
Which could hold several underneath.
right, it could hold several species in that genus. The study of bacteria is insane. There's, I think, between 7,000 and 10,000 bacteria that have been DNA sequenced, and they're thinking somewhere, a small number of bacteria that are on the earth are about 35,000, when other numbers are in the millions. So we've only DNA sequenced maybe half or a third of what we think there may be, and if it's in the millions, we've only done like 1%. So it's crazy.
Have you already mentioned the how concentrated and how many bacteria per milliliter or anything?
So in this sample, we always get different. Every lab is different, but in this DNA analysis, it was about 360 million per milliliter. So it's not in your billions, and some other companies have billions, but we're really going for enzymes. But having that life in there, an enzyme product that doesn't have life is just an enzyme product. I think an enzyme product with life actually gives those enzymes motive or direction anyways.
Are enzymes basically catalysts, or what?
Enzymes are the definition of an enzyme is a protein chain that's created within a living cell to catalyze a biochemical reaction. So yeah, a catalyst. That's the generic term that I think our industry wants to say an enzyme is. And I mean, enzymes are subjective. I mean, we really don't understand enzymes. It's kind of the generic, it's a protein chain. But we like to say it's just a catalyst. Well, that's the definition of an enzyme to an extent, but it's not really what an enzyme is per se, at least in the scientific terms. It's really a protein chain that's created within a living cell, not just an acid or not just something that will catalyze a reaction. That's just a catalyst.
So is it dead at 120 degrees then?
An enzyme will change its shape if it's boiled or above boiling, absolutely. And that's what gives the enzyme its ability to create a reaction is that shape. It's basically, I like to think of it as a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
It can either put a puzzle together or it can break a puzzle apart, so. It needs that shape. That shape is dependent.
So you got all this information, what are you gonna do with it? Change how you make your product or what you do?
We really want
about
to. Well, no, we want to know. We've wanted to know a lot of answers about things. Why it's breaking down calcium. Why there's a pH drop in calcium type situations. Why does it break down cellulose like other enzyme products? All these questions are always asked me, and I can say yes, but I never have a really good answer. Now I have an answer. So really, we wanted to provide answers to people, and in the future, we want to use this again to study or to find out exactly what enzymes are in SLF, so we can then list that. Because we don't inoculate SLF with bacteria. We start the process out with a ferment with a mother species of bacteria, a mother culture that we do have. We don't inoculate it with all these. This is all coming from natural environments where we pull the plants from. So we're going for the effect. The bacteria can change and morph. There can be crossover species that do the same things, create the same enzymes. We're not going for specifics as far as microbes go. We're going for effect when we do SLF. So.
Okay, well, I notice on the bottle, it's once a week. Is that hard and fast and true and all that?
It's not. It really depends on what you're using SLF with.
Okay, well, in my particular case, I'm in cocoa with number 4 soil here. I'm using the Nectar. I only fertilize once a week.
Okay.
And then I take the 3 there, the Mammoth P, the full on, and the SPF. And that's a separate situation, and I water with that every other day or every day, depending on whether it needs it, you know.
Yeah.
Is that okay, do you think?
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
that's perfectly fine. And the question that I usually get when people are adding Mammoth P or another bacteria product is, are these bacteria, are they going to work well together? Yes, they're going to work well together. Do they compete? Yes, bacteria are always competing. But that's why it's important to re-inoculate. Depending on what you're feeding, just like your body's going to build up bacteria, but it's gonna morph. You're going to grow candida if you keep eating a bunch of sugar. We want to re-inoculate because we want to push our plants into a specific direction. We want them to go we want a purpose for them. Mammoth P is phosphorus solubilizing. So.
And my idea is just not to overdo things because that's just as bad as underdoing it. And I know it feeding once a week and underdoing it or overdoing it.
Yeah.
You practice,
Yeah,
right?
that's the question of the day, I think. I don't know. Could you play around with it and add less SLF? By all means, add less. See if you're getting the same results. See if anything changes. I'm always asking people, please try less, you know, especially people that are using ungodly amounts. Yeah.
Well, on that same note, I've used godly amounts of general negative.
Yeah, no, you won't get any negative effects other than your pocketbook. And I love your pocketbook. I'm just kidding. I don't want your pocketbook. I just want, I want people growing healthy plants. You know, there are reasons for people using larger amounts. The Bacillus thuringiensis, which isn't on this graph as well, but actually has come up in other labs, and we know that it's in there because when we use it on medium that contains fungus gnat larvae, we will see their numbers decline because they're ingesting that crystalline toxin or crystalline protein that Bacillus thuringiensis creates.
Well, we're talking 5 milliliters a gallon here, right? That's your suggested use?
Yes.
And if you're doing 5 liters a gallon, in my case, what a plant isn't going to go through more than a couple of gallons of water a week. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. The 5.
Per plant, you know, I mean.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. So,
Okay, if I'm putting that at 5 milliliters a gallon, and as the week goes on, my plant has probably got somewhere between 1 and 2 gallons of water per week.
You don't use
That doesn't sound like too much.
No, some people are using a lot more. I guess
Oh, okay.
they're using a lot more.
Well, I've always had trouble.
This
pushing
guy just pours it on the plant.
I have a lot of it.
So.
Oh, yeah, okay. See, I don't have more dollars and cents, so I can't do that. I'm just a little one-man operation.
There's no, you know, it's all about experimentation.
Okay.
It sounds like what you're doing is perfectly fine. I will never talk anybody into using crazy amounts. But
Okay.
yeah.
But more doesn't, as you said earlier, more isn't gonna hurt anything but your pocketbook.
Right.
Okay.
If you're using it and you're using Nectar and you start to get a little buildup, I would suggest using just a little bit more to do kind of that buildup. Because if you're using, like you said, once a week and you're doing, you know, say suggested 5 milliliters per gallon, and you still get a buildup, I'd just try 7.5 or 10 mils per gallon to get rid of that bone no crust.
Yeah, most of the guys, like, when we're pumping a lot of calcium into our medium because we're using PK, you know, we really just, for us, we just kind of watch what's happening on that top layer of soil and watch what the plant's doing and then adjust our SLF and our PK from there. Really all about what the plant is telling you, you know, and the topsoil is telling you.
Have you experienced that buildup?
Say
at
what?
all? Have you experienced that buildup at all, or?
Well, not since I've been doing this once a week fertilizer and watering with the 3.
Good.
The fertilizer is one thing, and those 3 are another thing. They're separate. I don't mix them.
Okay, yeah, right.
They mix, you know, in the soil, you know, but I don't mix them in all at once.
Yeah.
Because I have had more trouble overfeeding than underfeeding.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
you know. Okay.
How long does it last?
SLF's crazy.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is there's quite a few obligate aerobes in there. So you would assume sitting in a bottle or just sitting, not being aerated, that they wouldn't persist in there. But like I said, the Pseudomonas actually create that, basically a floaty, and will float on the top of the surface. So that reminds me, a little bit of agitation before application is probably best. But the shelf life on that, we've tested the product after 5 years and it's still fine. Pseudomonas, obligate aerobes in there. We still find the same array of species in there. and the same effects. So like I said, it's been used in remediation, and those products that have been sitting the longest, we stopped after 5 years. It was just like 5 years is long enough. They're still remediating just as fine. There's bacteria in there that'll break down hydrocarbons and all these bacteria are still in there after 5 years.
Is it possible it gets better at it with age? Almost like a wine on it?
There's a possibility. I think, by the end of the ferment, they're basically wasted all their food. There isn't a whole lot. Sometimes you might see the bottle breathe a little bit, but if it's breathing, yeah, it's getting better. But if it's not breathing anymore, it's basically done. They will actually do other weird things, like some of the bacteria in there will utilize the light that's coming through the bottle, creating that green mold in my bottle. It's not mold, it's bacterial chlorophyll. And the bacteria are just trying to find ways to keep persisting in there. You'll find flocculation at the bottom of the container. It's just a bunch of dead bacteria species, colonies of bacteria that have just built up on the bottom of the jug.
Heat or
it does
cold,
weird
mess it up, problems like that.
Boil it, then you will destroy the enzymes. If you freeze it, just allow it to, if it's frozen, just allow it to thaw out naturally. That slow thaw is perfectly fine. If you try to heat it up, you'll create shards, and those shards will then cut the enzymes that are in there. It's all about keeping that enzyme shape. So slow thaw is great, and don't boil it. So it's
Is
pretty
it
different.
beneficial in my 24-hour seed soak with Zeus? I've always added it.
Absolutely.
Right on.
I mean, you think your first inoculation of bacteria is a lot like birth would be for a human being. Because when you're born, that's your first inoculation of bacteria. When a seed is born, that radical is the first thing that actually the endophytic bacteria will penetrate. So beneficial bacteria, absolutely.
Nice.
They have a microbiome just like we do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So what do you got planned for the future?
We've got another product that other people have talked about, the nitrogen-fixing bacteria. But unfortunately, it's an array of nitrogen fixers. And with every lab we've taken it to, we can't separate the nitrogen fixers because they rob them of nitrogen. So then they just have a plate count of nitrogen fixers. We want species on our bottle in order to label the product and show people that it's not just one, it's something different. Labeling is the biggest issue for that. And with the testing that was done by the state here not too long ago of other products, it's not something that I want to put out immediately. I want a solid test that's done, and we haven't been able to find it yet. The labs are so deficient, it's ridiculous.
It works. We know it works.
It does work.
Can you overdo it? I've just been doing like 5 mil.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't think you can overdo it. Nitrogen fixers are pulling nitrogen out of the atmosphere, so I would really I obviously cut it off in the flower. But so there's actually nitrifying bacteria in SLF. That's another thing I wanted to say. So there's a difference between nitrifying bacteria actually allowing nitrogen to become available in the soil, while the nitrogen fixers are actually pulling atmospheric nitrogen and fixing that. So I thought that was kind of fun.
What else did you forget to say?
I don't know, a lot
There
of stuff.
must be something.
I forget everything.
Well, maybe you'll think about it while you're awkwardly standing here while I give out tickets for the big drawing.
Yeah.
When you mentioned nitrogen fixers, I was thinking clover, peas, things like that.
Right.
Huh? Is that
Right.
what we're talking about? Hey, well, what if you grew some clover in the bottom of your, would that help you?
Possibly. I think growing a cover like that is absolutely beneficial.
Wouldn't hurt at all.
No, it wouldn't hurt at all. These are nitrogen fixing bacteria that are fixing nitrogen from the air. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Almost.
Okay, there you go. All right, let me go get the hat. I'm gonna know letters. Have you thought of it yet, but you forgot?
So, did I hear someone say that, there's been talk about like reusing I'm in soil, right, in the number 4. Reusing that, I just put it in my garden outside, right?
Yeah.
But, that SPF could clean that up, I could reuse it? Are you saying that? Like I could just
I'm laughing because you're
cut that
saying
thing off,
SPF, which is.
cut my plant off a few inches below the soil, and just leave it and just douse it with some
SLF?
Yeah, SLF, and leave it for a week or two, and then
Yeah,
replant.
actually, add more amendments to that soil, and then allow SLF to then break down those added amendments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For how long? I mean, what kind of a time frame are we talking about?
What are you trying to do? Trying to break down the roots? Roots are gonna take longer.
Yeah.
Unless you're nuking your system with another enzyme product, but,
The roots wouldn't hurt anything, right?
no, they're not gonna hurt anything.
But
They're
I'm trying to
actually,
break those
it's
down.
actually creating a colony for, or an area for colony formation for
stretch area,
bacteria.
right?
It's actually a good thing. You want that.
It's the salts we're concerned about. Any
Salts or anything that's just locked up in the soil, absolutely.
Yeah, which how do you find, like me,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
You
As long
can
as
take a
pH
shot
is
of it every
okay.
day, too.
Say it?
You can take a shot of it every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Terrible idea.
You think I need it?
Pocketbook money. I'm just saying. It's that beneficial. It's that safe.
Is there an age limit on that? Because I might be too
Yeah.
old.
No, it's golden.
There's just a amount limit, maybe.
Okay.
Would you do any different for outdoor versus indoor?
Okay.
No, the only thing I would do different is from hydro to soil.
Okay.
If you're using soil, obviously use a little more, like the teaspoon that we use. In a hydro situation, everything is pretty much contained unless it's drained to waste or.
If you were doing a lot more watering for big giant plants, would you use less? Or would you still use the 5 milliliter per gallon?
I didn't hear anything.
So you're watering a ton of
I'm
water.
looking at you.
So you got a 15-foot plant there, so you're glug. Would you use less in that thing because you're the concentration of it, or would you still be using your?
I wouldn't.
You'd still. glug. Pour it in, but you can't.
Water or was that SLF? No, yeah, I would just mix it up just the same. I would want to get it into the root zone.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
You want those bacteria in the root zone.
Okay. So no other questions? That's
Well,
good.
size of plant then has
This guy.
nothing to do. Size of plant has nothing to do with it.
Oh
right?
yeah, you'll definitely increase your plant size by at least 76%. Just sorry.
Yeah, 74.
I've only experienced like
Can I hear
68
70?
personally, so.
I'm kidding, that's total joke. You're not feeding your plants when you're giving them SLF.
So
Yeah.
for the people, you can use it in all stages, plus flush.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a huge client base that uses it just for a flush. And if you're using it just for a flush, I recommend that you use a little bit more. And you want to get more into there now, I would double it. If you're using it as a maintenance, you don't need to double it.
So if you were doing the flush light, you'd exclusively just that with water, or with your others?
Yeah, and what are we talking about flush? I mean, you're talking Nectar flush versus,
Yeah.
Are you talking right clean or a regular flush?
Right, yeah.
Well, no,
the right way or the wrong way?
I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I haven't used it as foiler because we foiler feed so much. Can I add it to every recipe?
You can, I
Like
mean,
just everything, even the
I
cinnamon
mean, you're
oil one?
already doing compost tea, right? So
Yeah.
it's already providing a beneficial array of, I mean, don't use it, or just because I said that.
Well, no, I love extending things like that in foiler style. That way you can actually include it almost daily.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, whatever makes you buy more. Give this guy 30%.
You got a real long bottom line here.
Hey, Jim, how about pre-washing cocoa?
Oh, that just reminded me of something else, but
Go on that.
Tell us the thing to remind you of, and then we'll talk about the other one.
I didn't bring it in here, but we're actually SLF is being used in Mexico. We had some friends down in Mexico that used SLF to wash their produce of Salmonella and E. coli. They had I mean, we're getting this great produce from Mexico, but that actually dropped Salmonella and E. coli by over 98% on each of those.
Just by washing them for
Just by washing them, yeah.
So I can put some of that in my Cascade soap when I wash my fruit and vegetables, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, sure, yeah.
Just a drop or so, something like that?
So what about using it to prep your cocoa? You got a lot of, you test your cocoa, a lot of
I
salt
don't
in it?
normally wash cocoa, so
I don't use cocoa either, I was in case somebody wanted to know.
yeah, you could absolutely use it to wash cocoa. I mean, you're gonna see an amazing discharge of salts that are locked up in there, if there still are salts in there and it hasn't been washed properly.
I've seen slurries done on bagged cocoa where it was just amazing,
Oh yeah,
you know, what was in there.
we love cocoa guys.
Yeah.
Cocoa guys love SLF.
I bet.
Yeah.
Hard to find clean stuff.
And the SLF is a neutral pH, like 7, 6, 8 usually.
6.8. Usually it's about 6.8.
And what about the new nitrogen?
About the same.
About the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always at the end, guys.
Always add at the end, yeah, mix pH and then add SLF is my opinion. Any concentrated pH is gonna mess with your microbes, but
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed since I've been doing what I was talking about earlier, is the pH in my soil doesn't dive. So I'm not getting that buildup like I used to evidently, that's the only thing I can figure, because
Yeah.
it hangs in there at 6, 6, 6, 7, 6, 8.
nice.
Where it used to dive down to, 5, 8, 5, 9, 6.
Add some flour. Revenge.
Anytime I stick it, anytime I check it.
Yeah. Did you get any questions over the internet?
Did we get even one question? Not one
No, that you
question.
didn't
No one's
answer.
really watching.
No, they were watching it. It lost the feed, so I just
Oh,
let
no.
people know that it's pretty much over and we're just doing the wrap anyways.
Okie dokie.
Two
But no, you
watchers.
guys are answering pretty much all the questions. I had.
Okay.